why is it that you are taking down specific account without explanation or without any justification to the subscriber? Like, for example, just take the account and that's it. So no explanation at all. So you will just explain if we will write you on what happened to the account. So there's no, I mean, is there a like for example, due process in place in your platform?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. Mr. Chair, if I may. Madam Congresswoman, again, I'm not familiar with the specifics of your case, but I, again, can talk in general. Users should receive notifications if actions have been taken against their account. That is certainly part of the due process that we have in place, and users have the right of appeal. And in fact, when we see mistakes happen and users appeal those actions, the content in question, if it was a community standards violation, may often be restored. In some cases, the account would be restored. I do just want to highlight, in the specific case of hostile takeover of accounts, or what Meta believes may be a hostile takeover of an account, that can be a more complex process for very good reason. We want to make sure that we are not providing access to the account of someone who shouldn't have it. And so, Madam Congresswoman, I would just emphasize again that if you or another member of Congress is having any types of these issues, we can certainly provide you access to our Meta Support Pro and other channels so that we can solve these problems together.
Mr. Chair, may I ask also that, are you familiar with troll armies, or mass reporting of an account so that it could be taken down for any other reasons? Are you familiar with that? Because I'm suspecting that my personal account was a victim of that scheme by army trolls, or by a group who would like to take down my account. Because as I can see here in your process of checking the misinformation and disinformation, it would be if it is mass reported, it goes to your AI, and then after that, human checking, right? Right? In your graph of how to determine the disinformation or violation of your community standards. So, so my question is, are you familiar with that scheme?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Madam Congresswoman, coordinated mass reporting absolutely violates our policies. We have seen that type of behavior before and certainly if we detect that type of behavior, then we would seek to make sure that any decisions that are made about accounts are the correct ones. And then we would also try to go after the people who are engaged in the coordinated mass reporting, because that clearly does violate our policies. And that's the type of abusive network that we would seek to prohibit from utilizing our platforms.
Another question, Mr. Chair, is about the inaction of the Meta on the AI-generated images abused. I was also a victim of that when I hold a gun. They are using the AI-generated, but still in the platform. But the Meta is not doing anything about that, and many progressive organizations and individuals are victims of that, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, sorry. So the question.
So how do you detect, or why are you not taking down AI-generated images that you think are not or inappropriate or not true or misinformation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Congresswoman, and for the committee. I think I would start from the place of our view of misinformation is that whether or not it's AI generated or not, it would be misinformation, right? And so I think first and foremost, what I would say and emphasize is that our misinformation policies apply to content that is AI generated and is not AI generated. Now, taking a larger look at AI generated content, okay. There's a few different pieces to this, right? First and foremost, if people use Meta AI in our own products to generate for generative AI imagery or the like, we have the ability to detect that, right? And it'll come with a watermark, basically, and therefore a label and be recognizable as a generated AI image. Now, if people are using other tools, right, then basically it's harder to detect what is generative AI and what is not. This is an area of very significant investment for Meta right now. We're working very hard on ways to detect what is generative AI and what is not. I think that part of the issue that we have here, and this is one where what we need is collective action. At the moment, there's no agreed upon industry standard for watermarking or for how platforms like ours should go about detecting the difference between generative AI and non-generative AI content. And so that's an area where we really need more focused industry collaboration, and certainly we are trying to drive that. For Meta, we believe it's very important for that type of collaboration to happen between industry, civil society, and governments. And I think the last thing I would really talk about when it comes to generative AI imagery or other content is really distinguishing between paid content and non-paid content, right? If you are, just generally speaking, at Meta, we take a much more stringent approach to moderating paid content, right? Because obviously we're taking money for it. We believe we have responsibility that's even greater, and the distribution would be increased, right? And so, in the context of anything that is, again, taking out the generative AI component of it, any type of content that is paid for, that is political in nature, that talks about a campaign or a politician or a social issue, right, is subject to our policies on political candidates and social issue paid advertising, right? And according to those policies, you would be required to disclose who is paying for the ad and sponsoring the content. You would also have to go through an authorization process, which would include, in most cases, providing a government ID.
Okay,
and you'd have to be,
on that.
if I could just finish one last point, you'd have to be located in Philippines, right? If you want to run a social issue or political ad, you'd have to be located in Philippines, right? And so there's a series of steps that you have to take to cross that threshold in order to be able to run those types of ads. And then in addition to it, if it is AI generated, you'd be required to disclose that it is an AI generated paid piece of content. Yeah. Thank you.
So really, it's very hard to determine because the name of the account is alias, or the name of account is just like a like, for example, Makabayan. The account is using our political organization. That account names Makabayan, is using our political organization, but it has this what I saw an AI generated images of mine with guns, with the rebels, etc. I will give you the images later so that you can see. Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Madam Congresswoman, and I know my colleague also wants to add on to this.
Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, Madam Congresswoman, it's my understanding that you reported this content, this image, to Comelec, and we have removed it.
Yeah.
I would like to also state respectfully, for the record, that we're not doing nothing on harmful generative AI. In fact, as recently as it was either yesterday or the day before, I personally worked directly with PAOC to remove a harmful piece of generative AI that was promoting investment scams. And what happens when something like that gets reported? It's not just that piece of content that comes down. That informs our ability to enforce across the platforms and across other accounts. So although PAOC reported one specific URL, many, many others came down as a result of that report. So while I understand, with respect, how painful and frustrating it must be to be a victim of harmful generative AI, please don't think we're doing nothing. But we are not perfect yet, but we always strive to be better. We strive to be better by signal sharing and trend sharing with Filipino law enforcement, legislative, NGOs, civil society, etc. So thank you.
Yeah, and I would just emphasize what Rob said about, please, if you believe that there's a piece of content that violates our policies, please do report it through Comelec, and we'll treat it with the utmost urgency. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, last question. And in your presentation, you have also employed organization or fact-checker organization. Can you name those? Do you have an example? The Vera files. You have. What is AFP?
Correct.
What is AFP?
That's a.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Agence France Presse.
Okay.
It's a global news organization.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.